Wait 1 legal minute again. Today is Thursday, and I have some very serious topics to talk about today. The first one is, before I started on Tuesday, I talked about that pit in your stomach when your child doesn't come home on time, when you give them a curfew. I have a 17-year-old that drives, and every time he leaves the house, I have that feeling, that feeling you have as a parent when your child leaves the house. I talked about a friend whose daughter, Darian Raven Stansberry, she had been missing since March 16th. I'm glad to share with you all that Darian is back home. I think Sheree posted yesterday that Sheree, that Darian was back home. So I just wanted to be sure that I let you all know that, because I shared her post on my page, and I just wanted to give y'all an update about Darian. So Darian is home. But now the conversation today is going to be about Ahmaud Arbery. I'm sure, this is just the topic that we all have to face. Did you happen to see his face last week, maybe even the week before? I think that it first came out, and scroll past the story. Let me know if you scrolled past that story when it was first starting to take over the internet, because I did. I was one of those people that I saw his face, I saw the intro to the article, and I intentionally scrolled by. Gidget, I see you didn't scroll past, and Gidget, I think sometimes you're a little more brave than I am, but I knew in my heart what was in the article. I already knew. So I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to attack the subject, because I knew once I saw it, I was going to feel a responsibility to talk about it. Good morning, you guys. I didn't want to do this, and this is why I didn't read the article. So last night, I finally decided to start reading and commenting and looking at the video. And I knew that it was going to be heavy and heartbreaking in what it was going to invoke in me. But I saw it, I read it. I didn't want to, but I knew I had to be ready. And I probably have been in bed since I started reading the articles and looking at the video, because that black cloud is over me now. Thinking about our sons and what they have to face, and the conversations that we have to have with our children that other people don't have to have with theirs. So I'm saddened, frustrated, I'm mad, and we have to talk about it, and we have to address it, and it's our responsibility, because it won't change until enough of us make a difference by having the conversation, by calling things exactly how they are, by putting words and actions to the feelings that we have from the injustices in our society. We shouldn't have to have these conversations with our children. just because they are beautiful Black young men. We shouldn't have to have those conversations with them because they are in their natural skin and they are doing what young boys who aren't African American are doing, but don't share that same fear every time they leave the home, or the parents don't have to share that same fear every time they leave the home. When I have to show the video because I can even see, good morning, Deshaun, that you didn't watch the video. And we have to face it. I mean, this is it's graphic, but it is important for us to put words and to put a conversation and to put action behind this incident and so many similar incidents. I mean, this isn't the first time, you know, and it's not going to end until we put some words and some action and continued and consistent movement towards the change and the injustices that our community faces on a daily basis. You know, this is just the most, you know, when it comes to the fatal shooting of one of our young brothers, that's just the most egregious, right? But this is what our community faces on a daily basis. I want to get back to, let me make a note. I had a colleague, a white colleague, post just an amazing post. And I do want to come back to that. So I'm just going to make a note. But now I want to just go to the video and show, and this is from CBS. The clip is showing what happened, and to give you some context, there are two people that were two white men that were on a white pickup truck as Ahmaud Arbery was jogging through his neighborhood. A third person video recorded the entire incident. So I'll talk more about what happened after we watch the video, but here is the video.
Now, racial tensions in a Georgia community. Tonight, video has surfaced of an African-American man being chased down and killed. His family says he was just out jogging. We should warn you, the video is graphic. Here's CBS's Omar Villafranca.
This cell phone video captures the final moments of Ahmaud Arbery's life while he was jogging through this Brunswick, Georgia neighborhood in February. Arbery was confronted by Gregory McMichael and his son Travis, who shot Arbery twice with a shotgun before the 25-year-old collapsed and died. Arbery's mother, Wanda Jones.
Proves that my son was not committing a crime. He was out for his daily jog and he was hunted down like an animal and killed.
Gregory McMichael was the only witness in the police report. He told investigators he thought Arbery was a burglary suspect and ordered him to stop. McMichael then said Arbery violently attacked his son and the two fought over the shotgun before Travis shot him twice. At the time, no charges were filed. Attorney Lee Merritt represents Arbery's family.
Nothing else after that video today. Both of the McMichaels, Gregory McMichael and Travis McMichael, should be behind bars.
McMichael is a former law enforcement officer who used to work for the local DA. Due to conflicts of interest, the case is now on its third prosecutor, who says he will ask a grand jury to bring charges.
I'm hoping that all hands involved, they're indicted and they go to jail.
CBS News reached out to the McMichaels, but they did not want to talk. The wheels of justice.
This is so sensitive. I'm going to go ahead and share a comment that we have, and I'll try to read it. Some of it is blocked off for me, but the first time, this is from Gidget Johnson, the first time I watched it, I saw it as a mother of a Black athlete. The criminal defense lawyer in me allowed me to watch it over and over again, over and over and over again, to pick it apart moment by moment. I cannot come up with any reason that they have not yet been arrested. All three of them, the two with the guns and the one recording, who I would argue was tracking his route, because otherwise, why would he or she know to be recording? So I'm glad you brought that up, Gidget, because that was my first thought. Before we even get to the actual incident, you see the film is the recording started while Ahmaud was jogging. So nothing was happening. This gentleman, and I have his name, the person who was recording, his name I believe is Brian Williams. He was following Travis and Greg McMichael. So he's in a car and Travis and Greg are in the white pickup truck. The recording it starts while Ahmaud is just jogging. So you wonder, I mean, I don't drive down the street seeing a jogger or a bike rider and just randomly record the person. That was concerning to me. And after the first shot was fired, you hear no reaction, no noise from Brian Williams, no sigh, no emotion. You don't hear any reaction from him when the shots are fired, when the first shot was fired, when the second shot was fired, or even when Ahmaud falls to the ground. You never hear a reaction from Brian Williams. So that was really concerning for me. Not only that, did you hear the clicking sound? This is a presumption based on what I heard. I don't know for sure. None of my research shows this, but what I hear or think I hear is a clicking sound similar to a gun. I don't know. I am making an assumption based on the context of how the video was recording, how there was no emotion seemingly from Mr. Brian Williams, and the noise. I've heard a gun click before. I have. It sounds like a gun clicking to me. So that was concerning. Gidget, I agree. I think that all three should be arrested. I saw on someone, Cheryl Kelly posted a few posts about this and had some exchange, and someone asked if the gentleman could be arrested without a grand jury indictment. Gidget, are you still with me? Are any of my criminal attorneys still with me? As far as I know, there is enough evidence to make the arrest, but can someone chime in who actually practices criminal law? Does the grand jury actually have to convene in order for these men to be indicted? And the reason I put that out there also is because courts are closed here in Georgia. Yes, nail salons are open. You can go get a haircut. You can go get your hair done, but you can't indict. You can't convene a grand jury on such a serious crime. So Gidget actually chimed in on this response, and here is her. She says that probable cause only is required for the arrest. And then Shavantane, Ms. Davis also said that they can be arrested. These are two, Shavantane Davis is a former public defender, and Gidget Johnson is a criminal attorney, both here in Georgia, and I'd like to defer to my other experts in the other areas. I'm just having the conversation and giving y'all the information. Bridget then follows and says, no grand jury required for arrest, but grand jury required for indictment. Yes, that will come later after full investigation. Yes, and I think that is the outcry. Why have these men not been arrested? We understand that you cannot indict. They should have to their bond denied, and they should not be on these streets. Let me go through a few other things. The Glynn County District Attorney, George Barnhill, wrote he wrote this statement before recusing himself that to him, the video exonerates the Michaels. Given the fact that Arbery initiated the fight, at the point Arbery grabbed the shotgun under Georgia law, McMichaels was followed to use deadly force to protect himself. So Georgia has a similar statute, and I'm going to include 16. I have the statutes up here. I'm going to include these statutes so that you can reference them. It's kind of like our stand your ground statutes that Florida has, which was a huge contention and essentially why George Zimmerman was not convicted. But I'm going to include 16.321 along with 16.324 for the viewers who are not here in Georgia and cannot understand why this could even come up as a defense. You'll see that reasonable force, it can be used, and when is it appropriate for justifiable use of force to be used by a person if you are not the initial aggressor. I have more comments. I have so many, so bear with me. Here's another comment by Gidget. Because of corruption and justice system, because of the connections in high places and people in powerful positions. That's exactly right. So the person who actually, the first DA that recused himself, George Barnhill, it was clear that he had some kind of conflict because he said that Ahmaud was the aggressor. But you see, it's clear he's just jogging down the street. So he was clearly protecting Mr. McMichaels. And I should note also that Mr. McMichaels, the father, had a law enforcement background and he worked for the DA's office. He was an investigator formerly for the district attorney's office. So for the Glynn County district attorney's office. So he had several connections. I have another comment. I'm going to include this. I'll see if he recused himself, he should not have even looked at the file. He should not weigh in at all. That's a great comment. Thank you so much, Star or Ms. Davis, for that. There are a lot of procedures that have not been followed. Unfortunately, at the time that this one article that I will share, thank you, yes, Severa, it's just an unfortunate set of circumstances, but we have to talk about it and we have to face this. I'm including a few articles that talk about what led up to this, the recording, how skeptical we are about the actual recording, the man recording, the two, Mr. Michaels, Travis and Greg Michaels, being on the pickup truck. One was in the street by the time we saw Ahmaud cross the street and try to get away. One was already off the pickup truck and one was getting ready to jump off the pickup truck. All concerning in terms of alleging that Ahmaud was the initial aggressor. I think that is going to be in a fair justice system. That will be a hard argument to make and to present to overcome the Michaels not being the initial aggressors. I wanted to also touch on, of course, Ahmaud was 25. This was his neighborhood. This was a common practice for Ahmaud. Several of the neighbors said that they knew him. One of them mentioned seeing Ahmaud jog by daily on her Ring video. And another one mentioned him waving as he would run by. So this was a normal occurrence, which to me is consistent with the Michaels and Brian Williams knowing that Ahmaud would be running in the neighborhood, and they were there waiting for him. He was hunted down. He was hunted down. So now it appears that Tom Durden, an outside prosecutor, has been assigned to examine the shooting. Before I talk about that, I just want to show these are more comments about fair justice system. Where is that? Ha ha ha. Fair justice system for who? I know we don't have faith in the justice system, and so I'm going to segue. The only way we are going to try to affect change and create change and to have us treated equally, this fight still continues. I've seen several protests that have that are coming up. I think there is one this Friday. I will also include them. I think, Gidget, you had one on your post. I'm going to share these protests. I encourage us all to participate in these efforts in order to get fair justice. And if the case, I don't know what the call of action is at this point in terms of whether the case will stay in Glynn County or not, or if it is possible to have it moved because he won't get a fair, that we won't get justice in that county. And I don't know what the options are. So Gidget, Star, if y'all can weigh on that, that would be great. But does this case have to stay in Glynn County, especially with an outside prosecutor? And that's where I was going. Tom Durden says that he does plan to have a grand jury to hear the evidence of the shooting. But as we all know, the Georgia courts are closed until June 13th. I have another comment from Rachel St. Fleur, another attorney here in Georgia. The shooter was an investigator for the DA's office for 30 years. Then the DA included a letter in his recusal about the shooter's character and stating there was no probable cause. That shouldn't be included in a recusal. It's BS. I agree. I think that, and it's almost making a plea for the perpetrators, and now the public already has all this information. So how do you panel a fair and impartial jury at this point with so much publicity? The defendant can ask for a change of venue for a trial, likely won't want to do that. Yes, right, because they'll have a better advantage in the county where all of their connections are. I also have another comment here. Even if they try to say it was the initial aggressor and the McMichaels were attempting a citizen's arrest, their argument still fails because one, Ahmaud did not commit a crime in their presence, nor did they have immediate knowledge of him committing all your comment is not on there. Let me find where you are. Committing one, and two, the force they used was excessive. Right, so very interesting because the comment that Mr. Michael did make in one of the articles that I read, and again, I'm going to include all these articles because you get to see all the statements that were made at the time of the initial investigation, which again now was almost 72 days ago. But what Mr. Michael said was that they knew of a crime. The men said that they thought Ahmaud matched the description of someone they saw on a security camera committing a recent break-in in the neighborhood. So there is no immediate knowledge of a current crime being committed. So that was, it crushed me that they thought they could just get on their white pickup truck with their guns and go make a citizen's arrest, if you will, for a crime that was committed recently. Not a few minutes ago. They weren't chasing him. They can't use the George Zimmerman, I was thinking it was happening right now. They can't use those arguments. But I agree. It will fail if the arguments will fail. I'm sorry, I lost you there. The arguments will fail if the jury is impartial, is reasonable, and use common sense. And we all know that those aren't always applied when juries make decisions. We can only pray that he will get a fair trial. He will get a truly impartial jury who can use common sense and call it what it is. Right now, I read something. Benjamin Crump is representing Ahmaud's father, but the family hired Lee Merritt to pursue this case. So I just wanted to show a picture of Ahmaud. Just wanted to show some pictures of Ahmaud. I got my crying out earlier, so I'm okay now. But you know, he looks like my son. He looks like the son of many of my friends and family members. And this has to stop. We can't continue to allow for people, white or otherwise, to take our sons away from us. It is heartbreaking. It is scary. It is frustrating, and I'm angered. But I want to do something. When we all need to do something, and we all have to put a voice behind these egregious supremacist actions. A colleague, and I'm going to share her post. A white colleague, posted yesterday, kind of like a call of action to her white colleagues, to her white friends, family, and colleagues. And she said that white people need to talk about it. White people need to talk about what happened in a true and in a context of what really happened, not in the fluffed down or fluffed up. There was a struggle. And the Mr. Michaels, and his son defended themselves. You know, like, let's just be real, like, about what happened. And let's put the truth behind not just what happened there, but what happens daily. And I appreciated her comments so much. But it's also anger. I get angry when we have to put a white person behind our call of action to get justice for us. And so many times that's what happens in our movements. We're not validated, or our call to action isn't validated until a white person comes and helps us. Now we need the help, and everybody needs to put a voice behind what's happened. But it's still disheartening that this is a human life. And in order to get justice, and in order to move from this the racial inequities, that we have to have white people put a voice behind us. That angers me, but it's necessary. And I appreciate, I think it was Tina, and I'm not calling her name because I was reading so much last night, and I'm sorry. I wish I included it in my in my presentation here, but I think it was Tina. But I'm going to share it after the show, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for talking about it, calling a spade. You know, saying exactly what is happening, what happened on the night of February 23rd. We have to call it what it is without watering it down. Here's another comment. I watched the video. He actually tried to run around the truck of the shooters to avoid them. This was certainly not self-defense. The video is very disturbing. And thank you, Jennifer, for your comment. Here's another comment. I'm having problems sharing the comments now. Interesting. I could share them earlier, but I can't share them now. Gidget, white people need to talk about it without lecturing Black folk on how to respond. Yes. So, yes, there's accountability here. Yes, I know you lost me. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it just said my page was no longer available. I'm just saying, I'm just sharing the information. Wow, that was pretty interesting. I wanted to go back over. Jennifer Wheeler is a colleague of mine. And Jennifer, I appreciate you. Listen, all of my colleagues, white, Black, people of color, we need everybody in this fight. But my white colleagues and friends and family especially, please give it a voice. Share this on your page. We need a collective humanitarian effort at this point. Here was Gidget's comment. I read it earlier. We need to talk about it, not lecture people on how to respond. Yes, we know we can lecture people ourselves on lecture our sons ourselves on how to respond. But what we need is for a change in society while we control or at least educate our children as to how they are viewed and the issues that they have. But here was the comment by Melanie, said Attorney Marcia Ginyard is scheduling a conference call via Zoom to discuss what we can do. Melanie's, can you include, thank you for letting me know. Can you include Ms. Ginyard's link on here? Because I think that we need to know the actions that we can take to help push this effort along. I have another comment. If two men can chase a man down on a suspicion to make a citizen's arrest and kill him with no arrest, does that mean we can go and make a citizen's arrest of those men since we all witnessed a murder? Shouldn't it apply both ways? Thank you. We know it doesn't. We know it doesn't apply both ways. A Black man could shoot down two white men and say that he was defending himself. And he would probably be arrested on the spot and be sitting in jail for 72 days instead of waiting for a grand jury to convene to indict. That's my opinion. That is just my opinion. So I have touched on a lot here. I just want to thank you all for participating. I may have a follow-up conversation on Thursday as more develops. And as more, today is Thursday. Gidget, please don't forget to share that. I think there's a rally tomorrow. The details will be on my page. I'll share it. I saw it on a few other of my friends' pages. But let's be active. Let's talk about it. Let's put a voice to it. But let's do something. So I'm going to post different rallies on my page, on my personal page, on Wait One Legal Minute. I hope that you'll all participate. But I'm going to include the details. I got through this today, and it was hard, but it was necessary. I can't, in good faith, talk about topics that affect me and avoid the ones that make me cry, or avoid the ones that hit home so hard that I don't want to face it publicly and call things and identify issues in our society concerned about how it may be perceived or how my opinions may be perceived. At this point, I don't care. I don't care, and this is important. This is important for our boys, our young men, for our society and our humanity. So I just want to say thank you all. As I get more information about what you can do, I am going to post it on my Wait One Legal Minute page, or all my pages, my Fenwick Thompson and Associates page, my personal page, and Wait One Legal Minute. I have another comment, but I am trying to wrap up. Thank you, Melanie. Here is another colleague. It's not a difficult opinion to reach. It's based on facts. You're right. Yes. And I just hope that it pans out this way. Let's put these tears to use. Let's put these feelings into action, and let's make a difference. Let's take some substantial steps in consolidating the effort in order to make people accountable for their judgment, for their intolerance of differences. Let's take some initiative and add to this movement. I've always felt like we don't make enough effort individually, right? Even myself, to make change where we see change is necessary, and we rely on people like Melanie Davis and other community activists to move us and to put a voice to the issues in our community. But we have a higher duty, and we have a higher responsibility to ourselves, to our families, to our communities. So I guess this is my plea to all of us. I want to talk about it, and that's what this platform is for. But now we got to do something about it. We got to be about it. So let's be about it. And this is a challenge for myself because now I'm publicly saying that something has to change and we have to do something, and I'm going to do my part. Jennifer says, watch the video if you can. It's very disturbing, but very telling. Ahmaud did nothing wrong. It just says, I cannot seem to post a picture. Glynn County Courthouse tomorrow, May 8th at 10 a.m. by NAACP. Yes, so that is the one that I was talking about. I'm not sure how far Glynn County Courthouse is from all of us. Wear your mask, wear your gloves, take your signs. I'm going to reach out to Gidget after the show, and I'm going to see if I can gather some people up. I will make the effort. I want you to make the effort. I want us to make the effort together. Sherry suggested contact District Attorney Tom Durden directly and tell him to arrest these men. He does not need to wait. Can we get a number? Does someone have a number for Tom Durden while we're closing out? If we have a number, let's go ahead and post the number. Oh, Gidget said Glynn County is 5 hours from Atlanta. Sherry also says that we can also reach out to Chris Carr and ask him to take over the case. Reach out to legislators, Glynn County, and ask them what they are doing about it. After, I'll have my paralegals look up Tom Durden's number. We'll include it on a page so that people can contact him directly. Email, we'll have his information. We'll also have Chris Carr's information on here. And other anyone who you recommend, I'll have my paralegals research and include this information on there. Let's make some noise. Let's make some noise. Sherry says, give me a sec. Melanie said, worth the ride. I think it is worth the ride, Mel. So who is willing to take this trip? Who is willing to take this trip for an investment into the future of our community? It is a long trip. It is worth it. Thank you, Sherry. You are a sweetheart. So here is the information to reach out to Tom Durden. We have his email address. We have his mailing address, his phone number, his fax number. And you may remember, this is the outside prosecutor who has been assigned to examine the case. So this is the person that we need to put some fire under, let him know that this is a concern and a priority for our community. And this has to be addressed, not when the courts intervene, when the courts reconvene. I think that it's been long enough. This incident happened on February 23rd. I think that Greg and Travis walking around since February 23rd without answering, without any repercussion, without spending one night in jail is unjust. It's unjust. Send a note. Reach out to Mr. Durden. Let him know what your feelings are about these perpetrators killing someone and not having to answer to the people about their actions. I will definitely reach out myself. My friends who are considering going, please text me after I get offline. Text me and let me know your plans about going to Glynn County tomorrow. I know that it is a long trip, but I think it's worth it. It's certainly worth it for my child. I said earlier that, you have that pit in your stomach when your child goes out. And I know some of my colleagues don't have to have those conversations with that pit in their stomach when they go out, when their kids go outside. And I do, and I won't stop. And I guess this is the way to change that. His son shouldn't have to have these same experiences. We have to put it to an end. I don't want my grandchildren experiencing the same injustices that my son, my father, his father experienced. And it's now time to take action. And I've never been the person to go out and participate in a political rally. I talk about it. I have my feelings. When the Freddie Gray, I spoke to a law school one of my best friends in law school, Nigel Powell, who's actually in court right now. I really wanted him to join this conversation because he's a public defender in Baltimore City. He sees the injustices there, the people he represents on a daily basis, and the unfair treatment. So he stayed as a public defender for all these years after we graduated from law school, almost 20-some years ago, because that's where he found his place and his voice, and to help our community. And when the Freddie Gray incident happened, I talked to him on the phone and I cried, and it was just a hard thing for me. And I wanted to do something. And he's always really honest. But he's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to come up? Because it was that night when I wanted to just fly home the next day. Didn't have a organized plan as to how I would help or who I would help. And I just said, I would just reach out to Marilyn Mosley. I would just do this and do that. Reach out to former colleagues that I went to law school with and just really jump in. And I didn't know how. So here we have all this information, who we can contact, Tom Durden. We have his information. I'll be reaching out to him. Gidget, she's going. And then I'm going too. So I'm going to stop the show because I started crying and I had stopped and I was fine. And I am a crier. And I'm not ashamed to put tears to something I feel passionately about. Okay. And so I'm not apologizing for my tears in this show today. In this conversation today, I don't regret how I have been vulnerable, because really we're talking about Ahmaud. But we're talking about my son. So a piece of me died watching that video. So I just want to, I'm going to close out now. I think we have all the information. Thank you all so much for providing so much information. Star told me to take a moment and breathe. I know breathing helps you stop crying. But I'm going to close the show. I want to thank you all for all of the information. Let's put it to good use. Gidget, I'm going to text you when I get off, because I would like to also go. And I encourage you all, if you don't have court, if you don't have something you have to be, or somewhere you have to be tomorrow, be in Glynn County. That's where I'll be. That's where I'm planning to be. And let's continue this conversation. Let's continue to put a voice to it, and let's plan to act and act. I thank you. I appreciate you. Please join me next Tuesday at 11. I am sure we're going to continue this conversation about Ahmaud, about our young Black men. I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday, or I look forward to seeing you tomorrow in Glynn County. Thank you.